Now it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Horst Stipp and Dr. Manuel Garcia. Garcia, yes, that is his name. It means both his parents were named Garcia. It really is a pleasure to introduce them for maybe the first and not final time. Look, Dr. Horst Stipp has been in the industry for many decades, I think upwards of 5. He has his PhD in sociology from Columbia. He is someone that I have learned a tremendous amount from, because when I joined from General Mills, we had a person that bought media at General Mills for 35 years. And the whole media and advertising world in New York City just exploded in front of me, because I had been viewing it from, a very different lens. And very much more focused on creative and not the whole side of networks and television. Horst spent 42 years at NBC in television. He's actually featured in some television programming by name. He has published extensively in German and English. This is what his bio says. And some writing of the script, someone wrote that I'm supposed to say Danke at the end of one of your talks, of course. But I don't speak German, so I'm going to skip that. Anyway, look, Horst is a thought leader and a provocateur, because in 2010, it may seem crazy today, but neuroscience was a terribly controversial area. And like all good researchers, we were having a lot of arguments with each other about it, right? Because anytime researchers try to innovate, we just have to just mix it up and start challenging each other and turning it into kind of a big mess. And Horst got in on behalf of the ARF and said, this needs to be a priority. The ARF needs to take a stand. And we took a stand at the ARF, and it was controversial in the industry at the time, and we didn't really unpack all the answers the first time around. The answer was, we think there's something here. But when I got to the ARF, I believed so strongly in what Horst was doing in his leadership, and also in the transformational potential of neuroscience, and from talking to people like Pranav and Dr. Karl Marcy and Patty Wakeling at the time, that I said, all right, we are going to make this a priority. And that's exactly what we did, all the way up to these ground truth research studies that we just did. We added neuroscience and that component in every single one of those pieces of work, and that's what they're here to talk about today. Dr. Manuel Garcia has been with us for about 9 months. He has brought a breath of fresh air to our work, and he and Horst are really terrific partners in crime and conspiracies, I think. So between the two of them, Dr. Manuel Garcia is actually a neuroscientist. He was educated in Barcelona. He has won some major awards, and he's a practitioner. He was at Nielsen Neuro prior to joining the ARF, and I hope you'll give a warm round of applause for these two gentlemen.
Well, thank you so much, Gail. I think now you're all going to be understanding why everybody on stage is going to talk about how much they're going to miss Gail if she does, in fact, move to a different place. But we all hope that we're going to be in touch. And thank you for enhancing my resume. I do have to just put this in perspective. When my name was mentioned in a television program, it was not for any scientific or other achievement. It was in the season opener for the second season of Blossom, where my name was mentioned as somebody who got struck by lightning. I guess it was a public service message about being careful. Anyway, Gail, in her introduction, mentioned our How Advertising Works study, and a lot of you are familiar with it because you attended Rethink or you attended AM, where we did presentations. But some of you did not, and for those who did not, and also to kind of set the stage for Manuel, who's going to speak in a second, let me just very quickly put it a little bit in perspective that this was probably one of the biggest studies that the ARF has ever undertaken. It was a huge research project, tremendous scope. What we wanted to do, and I think we got a long way towards that goal. What we tried to do was to review all the research about the principles, everything that was known about how advertising works, and examine whether it was still valid and how relevant it was for how advertising works today in a multi-platform environment with all the elements that the first speakers, for example, pointed to. So in doing that, we looked at it from two perspectives, from the ROI point of view, but then we also employed the methods that Gail just talked about, neuroscience methods, these very new methods that really allow us to do something that scientists and researchers and marketers had never been able before. And that is really with great accuracy look into how brands are built in the brain and how great creative really drives emotions that make such a great contribution to not only the sale, but also, and thank you for highlighting that, building brands, which is what it's really all about, I think. I know we need to focus on sales and ROI, but I think brand building is just so important and sometimes gets a little neglected. So we got tremendously positive feedback from all our members to this research, to the presentations that we gave on them, and we were encouraged to continue this research. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today. That's what we're going to be doing during the next year, with focus on new and different issues, all issues that we gathered from talking to the members and industry leaders about what are really the most pressing issues. And so not surprisingly, and that's why we're all here today, optimizing mobile creative and just dealing with mobile in all its different ways, like Radha just pointed out, right? It's not just the device. We want to continue our efforts in gaining more understanding on how advertising works today, with a focus on mobile. And that is my introduction to Manuel, whose presentation is really going to focus on what we learned about mobile and talk a little bit about the direction we want to go in the future on that. Manuel?
Thank you very much. Good morning or good afternoon or whatever it is now to everyone. As Horst was saying, during this past year, we spent like day and night working really hard to bring you some answers, to bring some answers to the industry about how to build great advertising, but in today's world, across platforms. And we work on that on different KPIs. So first I want to explain what we did. As he said, we did a very deep literature review. So on top of 80 years of research of the ARF, we went through over 250 studies, more than 50 neuroscience-based studies. Then most importantly, we talked to all of you. We talked to all the industry leaders to find out which are the questions that are relevant and which are the answers that are actionable for you to make your advertising campaign work better and be more effective. But also on top of that, we did 2 original neuroscience studies, one with TV and mobile, and one with TV and radio and print, to also understand how to build brands in the brain across platforms. So the first thing we found very loud and clear and through different KPIs is that advertising across different platforms is better than advertising in one single platform. If you guys are familiar with the work that my colleague here, Jasper Snyder, did on return on investment, he found that if you add digital to your traditional media, there's a kicker effect in your ROI of 60%, which is something clever to take into account. But then also we saw in our original research that just exposing your consumer to advertising once on TV and once on mobile results in 30% higher purchase intent. I'm covering purchase intent here. And also an aided recall than just exposing them to advertising twice on TV. But for this to happen, and Gail mentioned that before, those campaigns across platforms need to be unified. What does that mean? It needs to have the same message, the same theme, the same format and aesthetic elements like color, sound, and whatnot on the different platforms. So this is from one experiment we did with our friend Pranav, who's going to be up here in a few minutes. So here we were registering memory encoding directly from the brain electrical signal when the participants were exposed to a TV show on TV with commercial breaks, and after that to a radio show on radio with commercial breaks for the same brands. But in some cases, those campaigns for the same brand were not unified, were developed in silos, isolated, apart. And in some cases, they were unified. So as you can see here in case 1 and 2, when they were not unified, memory activation on radio was even lower than when they had been exposed to that same brand just 30 minutes before on TV. But when they were unified, they were building app on the memory structure that they built on TV before. And memory activation skyrocketed up to even 95%. But why is this so important? Why would you care? So you should care because we saw that campaigns that are unified across platforms, but also customizing the execution to the platform, which means not taking your TV ad and just throw it everywhere, but customizing the executional elements to make it better for mobile, to make it better for radio, for different formats. So that results in 57% higher impact. And this is impact that's been validated to translate into sales. So that's really important. And when we're talking about mobile, it's even more important because the ad spend of mobile now is $43 billion. And we check, on average, our cell phone 150 times per day. I definitely check it much more than that. And 79% of us use our cell phone to purchase goods, to purchase services. So what's the opportunity here? The opportunity is huge. But the opportunity is even bigger because 62% of campaigns so far, they are not using mobile the optimal way. So now the question is, what is the optimal way? That's what we need to find out so we can take advantage of this opportunity, right? So these are the 3 C-suite challenges that I would like to be focusing on in the coming months. So first of all, you need to avoid blockers. That is a huge threat. If consumers have the blocker installed, there's nothing we can do after that. But if we get the consumer to not install a blocker, we have to get noticed in this crazy, cluttered digital world. And then you also need to master the creative for mobile. We all know how to develop a creative for TV at this point. We've been doing that for decades. We totally master that. But now we need to learn how to do it for mobile because the behavior is different, the screen is smaller. So let's get into this. We've seen that there might be an opportunity to avoid blockers, to creating an ad experience that's more integrated into the consumer experience, where we're meeting the user in their terms because they have the capacity to block us. So let's say, as I was saying, ad blocking is an existential threat to digital advertising. So globally, it's costing about $41.4 billion to 419 million ad blockers. But this is the scary part. Growth is crazy. Like from January 2015 to January 2016, 90% growth in ad blockers. That is crazy. That is insane. And why is this happening? So this is happening for several reasons. The user want to be in control. You are in control of everything on your mobile. You want to be in control of the advertising experience. You also want that information that's being delivered to you has any value. You don't want anything that's just given to you because. You want some value in that. And also definitely you don't want something that happens there and that is disrupting your experience. You're reading your article and then that thing comes up and you don't really care. So we know that the pop-up ads, for instance, are really annoying, but now we can see why. We have here some eye tracking data from different independent studies, from Spark Experience and from True Impact and Media Breaks. And what do you see here? Where is the activity? Where are people looking at? What are people looking for? All the activity in the corners, they are looking for the X. They won't even look at KitKat here. There's some activity in the face because there's a face, and we're naturally driven to that. But no one is scanning the ad. That is not happening. And then we look at the neural indicators of motivation. I mean, we know that banners are not the most entertaining thing in the world, but there's still some positivity there. But look at the pop-up ad. It's like, boom. We don't like it. We don't want that. So let's see, what can we do? We do not have the answers yet, but we can look at some examples. This is an ad experience from Media Breaks in a gaming app. So here the thing appears, and it gives you a bonus. This thing here is the logo of the gaming app. It's more integrated. You have control, because you can always skip. You know how much of the ad is left. And, well, they're getting a bonus, so they're getting some value there. And you can see they're scanning the ad. So there's an opportunity while creating some more integrated advertising. And then if I step away, you can see that motivation here was positive, because they're getting a bonus. They're getting like Pokeballs or whatever they're getting. Then another example of some sort of more integrated advertising is native. And we've seen already that native gets, first of all, twice as much visual attention as a banner ad, but also much higher ROI for purchase intent. But there's a lot to do, obviously. There's still a lot to do. And let's say we master that at some point and people stop using ad blockers. Now you want to get noticed. And we've seen that you can get noticed taking advantage of the context, leveraging the context there. So first, we know that ad banners are easy to neglect. We've even seen in our research that they are viewed 15 times less than a video. But then we know from some research, and this is from our friend Carl Marcy from Nielsen Consumer Neuroscience, that if we place the banner in a contextually relevant place, we get 25% more likelihood to be noticed. Like in this example, you have some retailing ad in a holiday shopping article, and you can see they are reading. They're actually reading the banner, which is much more than what we are used to do. But then once you get the attention, you want them to engage. So we found in our research that a way to get people to engage with a banner is having the banner integrated in a unified campaign across platform. So if you've seen something related to that banner before, let's say on TV, engagement goes up by about 60%. So we have like an opportunity here. And then, last but not least, we need to master the creative. And now we have to master the creative for this screen while you're in the subway, and there are a lot of things happening, and at the same time you're texting your husband and your mom and 25 WhatsApp groups, and you need a creative that's actually engaging there. And we've said before that the quality of the creative accounts for like 75% of the success. We've seen in research specifically for mobile, and from these charts, I got rid of the low quality ones because they were negative values, but just comparing high quality and average creative. Let's see, ad awareness is like 3 times higher for high quality than average, but brand favorability and purchase intent are 5 times higher. So there's an opportunity here. It's really important to master the creative, specifically for mobile. So let's see. We need to develop an integrated experience. We can get noticed through relevant context, and we need to master the creative. But now, how do we do all that? What's an integrated experience? What are the creative drivers of success on mobile? So this is how advertising worked 2017. So we're going to be doing research on that, and we'll be happy to get your guidance and your involvement in all of that. And we'll likely be unveiling all these insights at the IRF annual conference next year. So thank you very much.